To the class that truly lost the most, we have really been through it all. We have been tested and tried every single year, but we have handled each hardship with grace, confidence, and unity. And now, we are here at the end of our high school experience, looking forward to what the world has to offer us next. Although we've had a foot out the door for the last few months, we can't fail to remember the 4 years that made us who we are today. For the past 4 years, we've all been leaving our mark on CDM. Whether you're a member of the 4-time Battle of the Bay winning football team, or you performed in countless drama productions, or you participated in the very first Clash of the Classes rally, you have changed CDM for the better. Throughout our time here, we have made mistakes, we have fallen down, but we got back up, stronger and wiser than before. We made friends and foes, we have passed and failed tests, we have won and lost games. But that is the beauty of high school. You may not have realized it yet, but you have taken your last high school test. You have played your last high school game. You have said goodbye to the last 4 years of your life. It's going to hit you when you walk out at graduation that you may never come back to the CDM campus. It's going to hit you as people begin to leave you, and yet you may never see them again. It's going to hit you after saying goodbye to your parents that you are going to be alone for the first time in your life. Although our senior year did not go as we expected, we still made high school memories that will last a lifetime. The 720 days of forming the closest friendships we have ever had, the 160 weeks of guidance from our teachers, the 40 months of games, rallies, and performances will always be with us.
Hi seniors, to the class of 2021. What a year. It has been my privilege to be able to work with you to the degree that I've been able to do that. New principals learn a lot from outgoing senior classes, and that has been very true for me. And the most powerful lesson I've learned is probably one that you didn't even realize you were teaching. By your example, you have shown me, and hopefully others, the power of perseverance. You tenaciously held together our high school programming, even when we did not have all of the accoutrements that typically are associated with it. You didn't have necessarily the promise of participating in athletic seasons, drama productions, dance competitions, art performances, any of those things that usually make school so much fun. You didn't even know how your AP tests would be taken this year, whether you'd be in person or not. Here we are. We were able to bring back many of those things, and I know we couldn't bring back everything, but you hung in there through all of it. Sometimes I think success is simply surviving. Not only have you survived, I really do feel like this year you have overcome, you've pushed through, you've figured out ways to excel in the midst of the worst pandemic most of us are acquainted with. So thank you for teaching these powerful lessons as you move forward. I will always remember what you have taught me about being a Seaking. Take care.
My favorite memory of class of 2021 is probably last year during the COVID shutdown. I had a lot of you last year as juniors, and I had to pass out textbooks to my students. So one noonday in the middle of the day, I was giving them out in the back of my truck at the teacher parking lot there at school. And people came through, and some people just grabbed their books and left, and other people grabbed their books and then parked their cars, and they get out and talk to each other, socially distanced. And other people shook hands. Some people gave each other big hugs. It was just really fun to watch you guys interact with each other, and just to be unchained, if you will, out of the house, and just really enjoyed each other. It was really fun to watch. In terms of advice for the class of 2021, I hope you remember that you're more capable than you might think right now. I hope you remember that people are way more important than the stuff you're gonna accumulate. I hope you remember that telling the truth is more important than looking good telling a lie. And I hope you remember to be grateful. Always grateful, no matter what. You guys are blessed. Be grateful.
Hello, class of 2021. The word that reminds me most of your class is adaptable. You've had some highs and lows and ups and downs, and you've adapted and you've made it. My favorite memory is when most of the students came back to school. I loved the feeling of you guys being back on campus and in my classroom, and it made me feel whole again. It's been my favorite 2 months of the year. And finally, my words of encouragement to you are, you've been through the worst of it. The last year and a half has been awful, but now you're done and you know you can beat anything, and you've got this. After all, you are a Seaking. Congratulations.
The first word that comes to mind when I think of the class of 2021 is sassy. There is a lot of sassy debates and four corners and discussions, and just people not afraid to share their thoughts or disagree, but they always did it with, a certain degree of humor and compassion, but that sass is kind of unmatched. I think just overall, I loved the class of 2021 because they were passionate. So I think, sassy and passionate are the words that I would use to describe them. And then in terms of advice, man, I don't want to sound cheesy, but I think just be yourself and don't be afraid of who that person is. Even if you make mistakes, I think mistakes are inevitable. Mistakes mean you're growing. Failure is key, I think. And have fun. I think, I don't know if I said have fun. Have fun. College is fun, life is fun. Not all the time, of course. But you guys are coming from a great place. You guys have a great spirit. You guys are resilient and have a great sense of humor. So bring that into the world. And I'm proud of you guys. It's been an awesome experience being a teacher.
To the class of 2021. First of all, just because this has been going on for your senior year, remember that you had 5 years before that here, or however many years you had before here. Those matter too. I know this is in the front of your head, but remember all of the things that you did prior and all the moments that you had prior. One of the things I hope that you find true and follow is stop doing things you don't want to do. Follow your own heart. Don't do things because other people want you to do them, because you're going to be miserable doing it. Take the courses that you want to take. Do the things that you want to do. Join the organizations that you want to do. Be who you want to be, because in the end, it's all you got. I've enjoyed every second with you guys. I'll miss you, but I'm very proud of you, and I'm really excited to see all of the great things that you do. Please come back and see us. And remember, once seeking, always a seeking.
Someday these will be the good old days. All the love you won't forget, and all these reckless nights you'll regret. Someday soon your whole life's gonna change. You'll miss the magic of these good old days.
Wildcat, but always a Seaking.
Warrior, but always a Seaking.
I'm a Husky, but always a Seaking.
Buckeye, but always a Seaking.
A Mustang, but always a Seaking. A Bruin, but always a Seaking.
Future Husky, but always a Seaking.
Mustang, but always a Seaking.
Aztec, but always a Seaking.
A Bruin, but always a Seaking.
Bear, but always a Seaking.
Gaucho, but always a Seaking.
Now a frog, always a Seaking.
Wildcat, but always a Seaking. Horned frog, but always a Seaking.
A Mustang, but always a Seaking.
Longhorn, but always be a Seaking.
Anteater, but I'll always be a Seaking.
Mustang, but I'll always be a Seaking.
Trojan, but always a Seaking. Anteater, but always a Seaking.
A warrior, but always a Seaking.
Aztec, but always a Seaking.
Violet, but always a Seaking.
Future Husky, but always a Seaking.
Badger, but always a Seaking.
Anteater, but I'll always be a Seaking.
Commodore, but always a Seaking.
Titan, but always a Seaking.
Kook, but always a Seaking. Roll Tide, but always a Seaking.
Terp, but always a Seaking.
I'm a Mustang, but I'll always be a Seaking.
A bear, but I'll always be a Seaking.
I'm a Gaucho, but I'll always be a Seaking.
I'm a Bulldog, but I'll always be a Seaking.
Now I'm a Quaker, but I'm always a Seaking.
Now I'm a Tiger, but I'm always a Seaking. Wildcat, but always a Seaking.
Future Duck, but I'll always be a Seaking.
Irish, but always a Seaking.
To the class of 2021, no matter where you are, what you do, or who you become, remember that you will always be a Seaking.